like those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and I am Jen Cruz. We're showing up as the She-Squatchers. I've got my trusty teammate, Jenna Grover. Hi, Jenna.
Well, hello. Happy to be here tonight.
I'm so happy you could be here too, and we're going to be without our precious Tammy tonight because she has gone to the Florida Keys, everyone, and left us behind.
Yes, very sad for us. But
very sad for us. She's having way too much fun without us, and I'm jealous because I have never been to the Keys, and she says it's so much fun.
Well, we'll have to go, Jen, because I don't think I've ever gone. That's one place that I've never gone either. So let's get a flight going.
I don't know that there's any Bigfoot in the Keys, but I'm sure willing to go look.
We can look for something else. On the beach. There you go.
There you go. Well, we have an amazing guest with us tonight. We've got Sheldon Quewezance. I want to say it the other way, but I think that's the way he pronounces it. And he's coming to us from British Columbia in Canada. And he is into Bigfoot. So, of course, we have lots to talk about and lots in common. Not to mention, I think he might be my distant cousin. Welcome to the show, Sheldon. Are you there?
I'm here. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, we have to tell the listeners how we connected and how that happened.
Well, I was checking out your guys' show because lately I've just been cruising all the Facebook groups and you guys popped up. So I reached out to Jen thinking, oh, this would be kind of cool to talk with the ladies about Bigfoot. And then we kind of got into a conversation because of my last name. And so you made the connection that we have a distant relation way back when. I'm going to let you tell it because I'll murder it. I'll butcher that. But go.
I was like, you're Ojibwe, you're Anishinaabe. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm pretty sure you are because your last name is the same as one of the names of my family. So then you went and asked your dad about it, and he said, for sure. So
I didn't know.
Yeah. So when I wanted to pronounce his name differently, I would pronounce it the way my family would say it. So, and actually in the Ojibwe language, there are different dialects and different ways to pronounce things. It depends on where you're from, and there's not even really an agreed upon spelling yet of certain words. So like from one reservation to the other, Makwa, which is bear, might be spelled MAKWA or MUKW. There's no agreed upon spelling yet, which I think would be cool if they could come up with that. It would be easier to look up things online.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if my last name means little boy, but if you go further north up to Manitoba and northern Saskatchewan, it's actually it's little girl. So depending on where you go, it just varies slightly. So, which is kind of ironic too, because none of the men in our family are under 6 feet.
So do you generally stay in the area where it's known as little boy? I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm just teasing, because little boy, little girl.
So I know that like the names that the people on the reservation received when they were put into mission schools and they were assigned English names, like some of them were pulled names out of a hat, and some of them were given loose translations of their actual name. Like Bajanagashig was translated into still day, but it's actually got a larger meaning than that. Like my great-great-grandmother got a name Mary Jones, but she still had all of her native names too. but the name that she received was Mary Jones. Did they do the same thing in Canada?
Yeah, as far as when I asked my dad about it, I guess our last name used to have like 20 letters in it, but the government shortened it down to 10. So our last name actually goes a lot. It's quite like I don't even off the top of my head. I can't remember how it's spelled, but and it's more difficult to say. So you did really well for Quewezance.
Well, I think that's because I had a little bit of an understanding of what it is anyway. So
Yeah, what a small
yeah.
world. I'm so happy that it just, I just can't, yeah, sometimes it's just like, wow.
So now I've met another cousin. So awesome. And we both love Bigfoot stuff. So how much better could that be?
You can't. I don't think it could.
It's a small world after all.
Yeah. So
Yes.
where's the other lady?
She is in the Florida Keys on vacation.
Okay. Okay. Lucky her.
I know.
I know.
I was just
We're
looking.
going.
Florida's back to normal, right? So you can go do what you want, and you want to go to a game, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it
I'm
is
not
back to normal down there. It
Yeah.
is. It has been for a long time.
Huh.
They're not doing anything different for COVID at all. So
Well, I just
I don't know.
seen a UFC event where they sold out the arena. So assuming everything's back to normal down there.
Wow.
From
That's-
different states, some states are more regulated than others. We just got back from the Nebraska Bigfoot conference where they were regulated about how many people you could have indoors. So we had to have the event outside, and it was so cold. It was so cold. And I thought that I'd be okay because I live in Minnesota where it's actually gets really cold, but the wind, and it was like 30 degrees, and then there was a clipping wind coming at me, and then we're inside this pavilion, so we were in the shade. So that
Oh.
made it worse, but yeah, so
How
Tammy's
was that?
taking it.
I've never been to a conference.
Oh my gosh, we love conferences. It's like a huge family reunion of people who share your interests, and you just, I mean, there's this freedom of talking about whatever you want to talk about it without having to hold your tongue because somebody may not understand you. And then of course there's the people that attend who probably have never told anybody else their experience, and all of a sudden it's like this weight lifted off their shoulders that they can tell you that this happened to them.
yeah.
And it's so awesome to be that place and that person that they can come to and tell that isn't going to think that they're crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I had a guy on my show a couple of weeks ago, well, months ago at this point, but he had held it in for 30 years. Like he was hitchhiking from, I don't know if you guys know where Edmonton is, Alberta.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I know Alberta because we get your clippers.
Oh, the Alberta.
Oh,
So
Okay.
funny.
All of our cold weather I thought all cold weather was called Alberta Clipper. And then one time there was a clipper coming from somewhere else. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought all clippers came from Alberta.
As he laughs. He's like, it was.
We don't get winter. Winter here are very, very mild compared to, because I'm from Saskatchewan originally, and winters here are extremely mild compared to back home. It's like minus 10 Celsius. I don't know what that is Fahrenheit. It is about the coldest it gets here.
Goodness.
I'm not sure if that translates in
Wait.
Fahrenheit, but
What is it? Did you say?
about minus 10 Celsius,
Oh, minus 10 Celsius. Okay.
whatever that is Fahrenheit.
I don't translate it back and forth either.
I'll look it up later. It would take me forever. Jen knows I'm terrible on the phone. It takes me like 20 minutes to send an email, text.
Yeah, winters here aren't much to, like, there's not much to them. It stays rather mild here compared to the rest of the country, but I think it got lucky that way. But longer Sasquatch season is what I say.
Oh, yes.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
Have you
Yeah.
guys been in the field yet this year?
We haven't been in the field yet this year. I've been doing more remote viewing for other teams, though. I mean, that's how I've been getting my Sasquatch kick on. We do the geographic remote viewing. So I just did some of that this week for the Ohio Night Stalkers. They're going on an expedition this weekend. And I told them where they are.
Oh, and how
Huh?
does that work? If you don't mind me asking?
It's something that I've always been like obsessed with maps. And if somebody would talk about a place, I felt like I had to go look it up on my atlas or something. And then when Google Earth came out with satellite imagery, I was like so addicted. And it started where I'd start to wonder something about a place, and what I would see on the image of the satellite would change in reaction to what I was wondering about. So I started doing that more specifically by asking questions. And then what I would see on the image would change in reaction to the question that I asked. And so I started using that to help paranormal investigation teams that were going to go look at a haunted place. And I would look at it for before they went there, and I would tell them what was happening there and why I thought it was happening and what they could potentially do to help. And I found out through doing that I was extremely accurate. And things that would like never be true. It's like, that's impossible. That can't be true. But then it was. Like, I saw that somebody had a dead body in their house that wasn't cremated, and they didn't kill this person. It wasn't buried, and they knew it was there. I'm like, how is that even possible? How is that even possible? That's not even possible. It has to be a cremation. Nope, not a cremation. How, did they kill this person? No. And I kept asking the same questions, and nope, dead body in the house. They know it's there. Didn't kill this person. Not a cremation. And not buried. I'm like, that can't be true. But I kept getting the same answer, so I wrote it down and I gave it to them, and a whole bunch of other weird details that I'm just like, whatever. I just don't think I'm good at this. And I gave it to them and said, well, here's what I got. I don't know. And they're like, well, maybe you're not good at this. And I said, maybe I'm not. I don't know, but that's what I got. So then they went there. And then the guy calls me and he says, Jen, you're not going to believe this. I mean, everything that I said that we didn't think could be true, it was there. And I mean, the specific details, like 3 Indians staring at the bear. And here there was 3 Indian masks, and I described the 3 Indians that staring at the bear, and they were in a row just like that, staring at the stuffed bear. And
Oh, wow.
and you know, and I was talking about the hunter screaming about something that they never should have done, and here they had a basement full of taxidermy animals that were just mutilated because the guy was trying to learn how to do it. And so he was just killing all these animals and mutilating them, trying to learn how to do taxidermy. And then, of course, I saw the dead body. And they said, Jen, you're never going to believe this. They have a dead body in the house. I'm like, shut up. A dead human body? And he said, yeah. And I said, how? What? And he said, they bought a mummy from a museum that went out of business.
Oh, I thought the story
Serious?
would get like gory, but okay,
No. And so they did have a dead human body in the house that wasn't cremation, that they knew about, that they didn't kill. I mean, stuff that I was like, that's not even possible.
so are
And
you
then,
getting like messages in your head type of thing?
yeah. But I would see like things on the image. Like that's how I was getting the information, and then more in my head too. But so then when we started, so I was doing that, then I realized, okay, I'm pretty good at this. And so I was doing that for paranormal teams. And, you know, the more you do something like that, the more your vocabulary develops, your psychic vocabulary. So you more understand what means what. Like I saw a giant cat that was taller than the 2-story house at the back door. And it was just staring at the house all the time. And I'm like, okay, I'm seeing this giant cat that's taller than the house at the back door. It's just always at the back door, staring at the back door. And so when they went there, there were 27, he counted them, 27 cats at the back door all the time. So, but if you stacked them all up, there would probably be taller than the house.
I'm gonna call you before our next trip out.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So when we started doing Bigfoot then, I thought, you know, I wonder if I could use any of this to look for Bigfoot. If I could like look at the areas of interest before we go there on Google Earth and Google satellite imagery, and see if we can identify where Bigfoot is before we go there. And it's been working for us.
Oh,
It's really cool. Jenna didn't believe in it at first until I took her right to something where I said, there's going to be something right there.
Oh yeah. And I was like, haha, yeah, right. Like, you know, in my inner voice, I was laughing at her. But you know, Jen really is good at what she does. So I totally had faith in her. But yeah, I was a little, I didn't understand the whole concept of remote viewing until then. But oh wow. It's amazing.
A year ago, I would have been in the same boat you were. But since I've been doing the podcast, and not just the guests that come on my show, but I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but I get a lot of people that contact me and don't want to come on the show. They just want someone to talk to about what's going on.
Yeah.
And the stuff I've heard lately has just been okay. There's more going on than just a simple Bigfoot and let's go look. There's more to it than that, and I'm slowly
What?
figuring that out. And so you're talking about remote viewing, and I'm not even judging because it's probably happening. I had a guy on the show. Well, the episode hasn't come out yet, but um, he talks to what's the word he used? Translators who are in psychic contact with a clan of Sasquatch in Michigan, I believe. And these translators get messages from Sasquatch and give it to Tim, who's the guy that I have on the show. And like they've formed a relationship, and he's become part of their family, so to speak. And as I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, well, my listeners are probably going to think the guy's, a little off, but I'm hearing this so much, so much that there's so much more to Sasquatch than just they're a red-blooded, warm-blooded animal. You know what I mean? So there's more to it than that. I'm sure of it.
Well, we hear a lot of that too. We do hear a lot of that too. And there's people that talk about doing mind speak, which is really just telepathy with Bigfoot. And although we haven't technically done that yet, we've had the instances where we all just felt like this is what we're going to do now. Like we had instance where I had remote viewed in Tennessee, this mountaintop. We located where the Bigfoot were. We drove there at night, parked the car, and it was us three girls with Matthew Delph from Mountain Empire Cryptic Researchers Organization. And so this was his research area. So we were with him, and we were just visiting that area in Tennessee. And we get up there, we park the car, and I pull up. I hadn't done this before. I pull out my phone, and I still had service. So I started looking at Google, the satellite imagery of where I am. And I asked the question, is there Bigfoot here right now? And I saw one 30 feet from the car. And I said, and it was dark out. So I said, Tammy, 30 feet that way, there's a Bigfoot 30 feet that way. And she pulled out the FLIR thermal camera and pointed it. And sure enough, it was there. And so we've got about 13 minutes of video of this Bigfoot on thermal that was 30 feet from the car. It was, well, we weren't sure what it was doing at the time, and we had it set on black hot, which means that, the skin is showing up as gray or black, and then, but hair shows up as stark white. All hair shows up as stark white, eyelashes, eyebrows, hair, stark white. So it looks like the stark white thing, and it's working on the ground with something that's showing up as gray. And it was doing something like this, and it was working with something that had a body temperature. So I don't know if it was skinning something. It's kind of the feeling that I got, that it was working on something. And we didn't walk back there. We just all felt this. We are this close. We're getting to film it. None of us felt like walking closer to it. We all just had this feeling that this is good enough. And we had this understand, there wasn't words coming in our head, but when we talked about it later, all of us had this feeling that we don't walk closer to it. This is it. And so
it was very respectful on both sides. Sorry, I have to.
Yes, it was aware that we were there, and we were aware that it was there, but we just kept her, this is a safe space, and we're respecting your space, and that was it. And Matthew returned to that location because we had to leave the next day. We were just there for a conference, and if we have extra time, we like to go out and look around in an area that gives us the opportunity. And so we had to leave. So normally we would like to return during the day to look at that area, because we were seeing from the hips up. And so we're like, is it sitting down? But Matthew went back and looked at that spot, and he said there's a little drop off there. So he thought it was standing there and using this shelf as a countertop.
Oh.
So that's what he thought was going on when he went back and looked at that location during the day. So
How freaked out were you? Did it, let me ask a weird question. Did like a calming kind of feeling come over you guys?
Actually, yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
scared at all.
None of us were. It was really odd.
Yeah.
It was a
Okay.
very
I
respectful, calming interaction with no interaction.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, like, because even when I had my sighting, it was just like you guys said, it was just a feeling that I got. Okay, it's time to leave. We've came here to do what we needed to do. Now we got to go. And everybody in the truck kind of got that same vibe because we were all in agreement. As soon as after we get left, okay, we got to get out of here. It's time for us to leave. We came and did what we saw, or did we did and saw what we saw, and now it's time for us to leave. But yeah, like as you guys are talking about that, it's like same thing. I get it.
Yeah. So I mean, for us, that's kind of how we're doing things. And in the time where we weren't able to go out looking. Well, they closed the borders of my reservation, so we couldn't really go in and look around up there. And that's where I love to go look. We have really good results up there.
How are you guys managing through COVID? Like, did any of you guys get out in the field at all, or try anything?
Well, I've been doing more remote viewing for other people during that time. And we were being very careful because both Jenna and I were high risk. Now we're both vaccinated.
Ah,
Yahoo! It's actually everyone is still at risk, even if you have the vaccination. I just feel so much more
Safe.
comfortable. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
You know-
I got my first shot. When was it? 2 weeks ago. But I don't get my second one until June, so it's going to be a while before we get back.
I am going to highly recommend that you start taking large doses of vitamin D.
Oh yeah, I do. Oh yeah, you can see my cupboard right now. It's full of vitamins, and it's like I have pretty bad asthma and allergies and stuff. So if I get sick, I get sick. So I'm not willing to risk, you know. So I'm doing what I can to. Actually, that's why I started the podcast, is because I couldn't get out with my buddies anymore to get out in the field. So that's how the podcast was kind of born.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, they closed the borders of our reservation. So, like, literally, they had people on the border stopping cars saying, "Why are you here?" And Bigfooting is not an acceptable reason to be here. So, we just wouldn't be able to go there. So, and, there were lots of reservations that closed their borders. Like, there were places even in South Dakota where people who were traveling from one place to another had to, like, reroute around a reservation because they couldn't drive through it.
Oh wow, you guys really went down to lockdown, eh?
Mm-hmm. Some places did.
Yeah, BC never really got to that point. We are now. I mean, we have travel restrictions that got put into place 2 weeks ago, so people from my area, can't go down to like Vancouver area along the coast and stuff. It's just, you'll get a fine, so yeah, stay home. I don't like going down there anyway. It's too crowded. Too many people.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're so funny. You're an introvert, then I take it?
Oh, big time. You know what? And it's kind of funny because I was talking to my wife about it a couple of months ago, and she's like, well, just talking about the podcast and how it's going and whatnot. And it just kind of dawned on me. It's like, I hate talking to people. I don't know why I got into podcasting in the first place, but I don't interact well with others. But since I've done the podcast, my shell is kind of breaking loose, and I'm actually getting more comfortable talking to other people. And it was just a greedy reason is why I started the podcast. I wanted more stories. That's why I'm asking you guys about yours, because I love hearing people's encounters. I absolutely love it here. There's times when I'm interviewing somebody and I'm just like dumbfounded, and I forget that I have to talk. I have to actually have a conversation with these people.
You know what you should listen to. It's called 50 Years of Bigfoot. It's on YouTube. It is amazing. It's a great story. I can't say 100% that it is 100% true, but it's an amazing story. And I personally believe a lot of the things that they're talking about, they're talking about Bigfoot, a family of Bigfoot. In fact, Igor, he was on our show last Wednesday. Yep. He was actually talking about 50 years with Bigfoot. I was so shocked when he said he had gotten a call from Janet. So I was just like, oh, so definitely anybody who has the chance, get out there and listen to it. I mean, it's a long listen, but it's great for big, long drives. So
I haven't heard it. So I'm just going off of what Jenna's saying. And so, of course, when we go on a road trip, which I don't know when that's going to be because we're flying everywhere these days. Jenna, we need a road trip.
I think so. I'm so ready for a road trip. Let's go to Florida.
Yeah, it's only
Perfect.
like a 30-some-hour drive.
Hey,
Let's go. We'll take your car.
actually, we are the two that probably would just pick up and go
Yeah,
without
I've done
thinking.
it. I've done it.
Done it.
And I'm sorry, I forgot the other lady's name.
Tammy.
Jenna. Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
No, Tammy. Okay, and she's the one that's in Florida right now.
Yeah, she's on vacation, but she lives in the state of Virginia right now. She
Oh.
recently moved there from Minnesota.
Forgive me, I'm not trying to take over your interview, but how did you guys come together if you guys live in all different parts of the country?
Well, Jenna and I only live 15 minutes away from each other through town. And even though it's across the river, I'm in Minnesota, she's in North Dakota.
Oh.
But really it's just across the river. And but Tammy was living in Minnesota too. And then unfortunately her husband passed away very suddenly, and she needed to move to a location where she had more family support. So she moved to Virginia, and we've been able to stay together and still get together and still do things together, and it's working out well. We do a lot of traveling anyway to conferences, so she's still going to come with us to conferences. We're still going to go Bigfooting together. We've got a 10-day trip to go stay with her and go Bigfooting in Virginia in June. She's coming to see us later this month, and I just was with her last weekend.
And I was so jealous I didn't get to go. They had a fabulous event.
Yeah.
So what was the point that got you guys? Well, let's start with. I'm sorry, I'm taking over your interview. It's just
are we being interviewed today?
sorry. I'll stop. I was
So-
going to ask Jenna how you got your interest in Bigfoot going.
Actually, Jen, I really didn't think much of Bigfoot, but Jen I had gone through a lot of medical issues. And after that, I just kind of had a great new outlook on life. And Jen started telling me about her experience that past weekend going out. And I could tell she was hesitating. She was a little embarrassed, but she told me everything that they did. And it just sounded like so much fun. I wanted to get involved because of the camaraderie. I wanted the exercise. And then I wanted to find out if Bigfoot really existed. You know what I mean? So it all starts with Bigfoot, and then you're starting to figure out that all of these different things kind of go together. So that's why I joined, just because the truth is out there.
Do you guys get called the Bigfoot girls or Bigfoot ladies or anything like that?
Well, sometimes people call us that, but She-Squatchers is the name of our team.
There you go.
And
People see me, oh, you're the Bigfoot guy, right? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, I do
Yeah.
yeah,
it's not just.
we have a good
But
time.
They did a big write up in the local newspaper, and it kind of went around the province about local podcasts are on the hunt for Bigfoot and that sort of thing, and so people kind of started. I was getting recognized, which was kind of weird but flattering at the same time, because it's like, I don't know you. Like, what are you talking? But that's my introvert coming out.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure you thought, oh my gosh, how do they recognize me? What happens next? Oh no.
Yeah.
Are you approached a lot now?
In the city where I live, yeah, quite a bit. People want
Nice.
to ask me questions or tell me about what happened with them, and for the most part, it's just more of a, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's in 90% of the time, it's like, okay, that wasn't a Sasquatch that you heard. It was probably a cougar or a bear or something. But yeah,
But
a lot of people come up and they ask questions.
and isn't it incredible how many people you meet every day that have stories? Everybody. My cousin's brother, or or my mother's uncle, or there's always some story. And you know what? It all goes back into history. I wish it was all documented, but it wasn't. So
Yeah.
speaking of, tell us a little bit more about your experiences with Bigfoot.
Jenna, we're going to have to go to break very soon. So let's hold that question. And we're going to really make you talk about yourself, Sheldon,
Oh, okay.
when we come back from our commercial break.
Sorry,
So
it's a habit.
we're going to go to commercial now. So, hey, everybody, stay tuned and we'll be right back with Sheldon's story. All right. Yeah, we're good. So
I'm so sorry. I got so involved in there. I was like, oh, gotta ask more. Okay.
I forgot what
does
that
that.
meant.
I wasn't even looking
like,
at her. How
Man,
sad.
something. I forgot what it was.
To those everybody watching on YouTube, this means we're going to commercial soon. Please finish your thought. But Jenna, she always concentrates so much on the guest, she never looks at me doing that.
I don't see much of anything else. I really do. I mean, we have these fabulous guests, and I know Jen and Tammy do a lot of the back work with the computers. And I told them, I said, I'm sorry, I can't do all this back work and pay attention. I said, I really just want to pay attention to the guests because, you know, I have to. I love it. I love people, and these stories are amazing.
You know what? I think we and you sound like we're on the same level when it comes to stories and listening to people tell their encounters and stuff. Because I just deer in the headlights type thing when people start opening up. Like I talked to a guy today for an hour and a half. And
Wow.
that was after the interview, and just BSing about, you know, Sasquatch and what he thinks they are and all, and where they came from and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So it's something I love. I just love doing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta be quiet. I think we're coming on in a minute.
I think we got some time yet.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh, that
30.
30 seconds. Thank you, Sarge.
You guys got a producer.
Yes, we do. He's awesome. It's too much technical for me.
Yeah, that was a challenge for me too. I was trying to figure out how all this works, and
Yeah.
still not there.
Now,
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and hey, we're the She-Squatchers. Won't you check us out online at She-Squatchers.com? And hey, also we're on YouTube, and we would love for you to come over and subscribe to our channel and help us win that She-Squatchers YouTube race with another YouTuber who dared challenge us to a YouTube race. We need to win, and he's catching up. So please come over and subscribe to our channel and help us win. We need to win.
Jen, I loved your energy on that one. That was awesome. We do need to win. I
We
love that
are
energy.
going to win.
We are going to win with
Help
your
us-
help.
Help us win. So,
Help us win.
and hey, Tammy will skin me alive if I don't tell you to come over to our Facebook page and our Instagram at She-Squatchers Official and give us a like and follow us there as well for all of our up-to-dates, what's happening with us. So, hey, we've got an awesome guest with us tonight. He's with us from Canada. We've got Sheldon Quewezance with us. Quewezance. And he's coming. He's here to tell us about himself this time.
I'm sorry, it's just a force of habit at this point.
It's all right. It's all right. We do all these interviews and hardly ever talk about our own stuff, so it's probably good for our listeners to hear it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird for me when guests start asking me about my stuff, and it's, oh no, well, okay. Tables get turned, and like, oh, okay, that adds in a little bit of context to our conversations. But
So how did you get interested in Bigfoot? Did you always believe? When did it happen? How did it happen?
grade 7, 1988. I read a book in the school library by a man named David Cohen, I believe was his name. He wrote just a little supernatural book. You know, one chapter was Loch Ness Monster, one was the New Jersey Devil, and then the one that I kind of clung to was the Sasquatch. And of course, he wrote about the Patty footage and all that stuff. And ever since then, I always had this fascination with Bigfoot. But growing up in Saskatchewan, southern Saskatchewan, there's not a lot of Bigfoot activity in that area. I mean, there's a little bit, but not much. But it took me moving to British Columbia and getting a job with two of my best friends that we carpooled together to go to work. I worked at an open pit copper mine for a few years, and excuse me, we were just talking one night about Sasquatch because a mutual friend of the three of us posted a picture of tracks that he had found, like really, really good ones. Like they were a beautiful picture. And so we decided, oh, well, that's something we can do. Let's go find tracks of our own. So it just ended up that we started out trekking one day, and we went through a walk in the woods and trying to find anything evidence in that. And that's where the interest in Sasquatch really started. It was just hanging out with my best friends and walking through the woods and looking for Bigfoot.
How long before you made it a team?
Pretty much right away. Yeah, we started a Facebook group shortly after that, and we just kind of, we were going out once a week at least, maybe once or twice a week. We were really like, we had the gung-ho attitude where we were going to find the answers that you guys all want. Didn't work out that way, but
That's so awesome, though, because we all have such great intentions to get out there and find evidence, Oh, well,
yeah.
you still have a long time to keep going with it.
Well, we'll see. We haven't been out in quite a while. Like, we got out last week for maybe a couple of hours, just a quick trip down to the woods and just see what we could see. It was just with COVID, we weren't really doing much, and we were all kind of being overly cautious, and then we just didn't really get out much. And that's actually where the podcast came from. Is I needed to scratch that itch, and I couldn't get out, and I'm not going to the woods by myself. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
No, so
I shouldn't do that either because I'm so directionally challenged.
Yes, she is. She's very directionally challenged. I'll put my hand up and say yes.
are you leading the group and you're kind of going in the wrong direction?
Okay, so I lead the group to a location that I've discovered on GPS. However, when we're already in the woods and all of our equipment is dead and we can barely see where we are, Jenna, lead the way.
Yeah, okay. So we were she's like, Jenna, I'm lost. Like I could tell she was really nervous. She was like, I don't know where we are. And she goes, lead the way, Jenna. And I said, okay. I said, it's this direction. And she goes, no, it's not. And so then it was just like, what do I do? How do I win? What did we do? Oh yeah. Who was coming out there to save us that time?
Well, we had somebody who was in the car that was parked in down the trailways, he'd gone back to the car while it was cold and all of our equipment was dying at once, the flashlights and everything. So he went back to the car to warm up and he didn't come back. And so I had like 13% left on my cell phone and I'm texting him and calling and he's not answering. I'm like, come back. We can't find the trail. We don't have any light.
But it turns out I was right.
She was right. We were like 10 feet away from the trail, but the little bit of light that we had wasn't enough to like light it up enough. And I kept thinking of all the people that like start walking the wrong way in the dark and they end up really deeper in the woods. I'm like, the best thing is just to stay still and wait for somebody to come.
We actually took a friend of ours out who just had a curiosity about Sasquatch and said, yeah, come on out with us. And we actually walked them out in the woods and lo and behold, we got lost. Yeah, that was not a fun night. But
so how did you find your way?
Guessed. We just guessed.
Oh.
We think it was that way, and then it turns out we were probably 300 meters off of where we were supposed to be, but that's close enough. So.
Oh my goodness. Oh well, I'm glad you were safe.
Well, we have GPS and all that stuff, but we never, for some reason, we just don't take it out when we actually go through the woods. And
well, sometimes it doesn't work in the woods. It depends on the area that you're in. So we start depending on these, on these phones and these gadgets, and we should really all be taking compasses out there.
Yeah.
Or really know the sun.
Yeah, well.
Or the stars.
Or the stars,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, but we invested in all that equipment and gear, and it's kind of just sitting in a closet right now until we can actually start making plans. Like all three of us are shortly going to be vaccinated fully, and we'll start getting back out there soon, I hope.
Yeah, we just got vaccinated too, so we've been more out there getting together and doing stuff. So, I know it's not a complete protection. I know you can still catch it, but I feel so much safer than I did before.
That's good.
I still wear masks, but.
Well, is it mandatory down there?
No.
No? Like if you go in a Walmart or something, you don't have to wear one?
Different stores can require it, yes, but it's not like a statewide thing anymore.
Yeah, you have to wear it everywhere in public here now. If you don't, then people would kind of give you ugly looks and what the hell are you doing? Mm-hmm. I just can't, because I have asthma. I just can't wait to rip that thing off and throw it away and just not have to worry about it anymore.
Yep, that'll be nice. I'm looking forward to being back to normal at some point.
Yes, there's one area that we go to, and I just want to get back there and go check it out because it's been a few years since we've actually been there. Actually, where we had our sighting is where I want to go back to because I'm starting to think.
Tell us about it.
Okay. Well, let's see. we started our group in 2017, and in 2018 we actually had our sighting. And what happened that day was my brother was actually visiting me, and he's an RCMP member, which is our National Police Force, and he has just a fascination with Sasquatch as much as I do. And so me and my other partner and his wife, actually, we jumped in the truck and we headed to our favorite spot that we go to, where we've had quite a bit of activity going on. And we had gone for a walk and decided, okay, well, let's just go sit in the truck, because it was a little windy out and it's hard to hear anything when the trees are all that stuff. So we were sitting in the truck, and every few minutes we'd scan like the tree line with our flashlights and just see what's out there. And lo and behold, if I didn't scan the tree line, there was something there. Like I seen these two. Well, I seen these two like lights, and they were like yellow lights, like almost like a yield, like a traffic light. And I had one of those flashlights where you can zoom it and kind of get a better, shine more light on one particular area. And this thing was standing there, and its hand was wrapped around the tree, and it was kind of looking at us from the side, not doing anything, just standing there staring at us. And it took me a few seconds to kind of process what that was, because I was like, no, that's a bird sitting on a branch or something. That's not what I think it is. And then, as a few seconds go by, you see the body shape, and it's like its fingers moved, and it's like it totally freaked me out. Meanwhile, my brother's sitting beside me, and remember, he's the cop. He's the one that should have the nerves of steel. He gets to carry the handgun around and protect us. And I look, and he's freaking out. He's like, "Tell me what that is. What the bleep is that? Tell me what that is. What do you see? Tell me what that is." And I looked at him and said, "Hey, like, calm down, relax. Like, shh, like,
You're calming the police officer.
Yeah.
How funny.
And in that 3 or 4 seconds that I turned just to tell him to, cool it, he was gone. It didn't make a noise, didn't do anything else. We didn't see anything else. It just checked us out, and then guess it was satisfied with whatever it saw and walked away.
Any kind of smells? Did you smell anything?
No, and after we had our sighting, though, it was like a weight came off of me. I don't know how to explain it, but it was just like, okay, now I know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, okay, now we can go. It's perfectly fine if we leave here.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy Dusty went back the next day and measured where the head was, and it was about 8.5 feet tall.
Nice.
Yeah, and we found lots of tracks in that area. We found, a couple of structures up there. So they're definitely in that area. So that's why I want to get back out there. Damn, COVID is wrecking everything for me.
Yeah, it's wrecking everything.
Yeah. So
Hopefully it won't be such a.
we weren't able to get out, and I still, like I said before, I had that scratch to itch. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to buy some equipment. And how hard can it be to be a podcaster? And it's pretty hard. You guys must know what I'm talking about.
Well, we've got a producer that does all the hard stuff for us.
Oh man, you guys are lucky, because I am still learning. Like I downloaded some software programs, and then I bought a little podcast studio, which is over here, and microphones and all that stuff. And I'm learning on the fly as I go. And then there's the actual trying to find guests, and people no show and all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of work, but it's quite fulfilling. And I'm not sure if I was asked the question if I'm going to continue to do it even once we can get back out in the field and stuff. And I don't think I think I'm going to keep doing it. I love doing it. It's just the community is one that I've kind of longed for. Oh, you've seen Bigfoot too? Okay, me too. And then it just brings people together. It doesn't matter what race you are, what color you are, how old you are.
A feeling of belonging.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's a camaraderie in there, and I love that. And that's why I was asking you guys about your conferences, because I haven't been to one yet, and I really want to go.
You have to.
They're amazing.
If you can get into the States, you should try to come to the one in Washington in October. It's the Yakima Valley Bigfoot Conference.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing that one, and I'm really sure that
Bob.
Oh.
Wait a minute. You got to repeat that because you froze.
Okay.
You're pretty sure that
Bob Gimlin is going to be there because he lives there.
You know who
Bob
Bob Gimlin
Gimlin,
is?
the one
Yeah.
who filmed the Patty film in 1967, the famous Bigfoot film.
That was walking.
Yeah.
Didn't he pass away?
No. No.
He's alive and he gives fabulous hugs.
Patterson. Patterson passed
Oh,
away.
that's okay. That's what I was thinking. All right.
Yeah.
Never-
But Bob Gimlin is still alive.
Yeah,
Thank goodness. He's
I'd
the
like to be
sweetest.
on. We'll see what the travel restrictions look like in a couple of months, because right now we're still not allowed. Well, we can leave, but if we come back, you're locked in your house for 2 weeks, and they.
That's right. So they are doing the quarantines,
Oh yeah.
like after you come back.
Yeah, they make you fine if you don't, and yeah, it's not worth the trouble.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oofta.
I was actually hoping that British Columbia would have one soon, but not yet.
You could put one on.
Well, I work at a facility when I'm not doing Bigfoot stuff. I do work at a facility that's big enough to host one.
There you go.
I drive a
There you
Zamboni.
go.
I'm not doing Bigfoot stuff.
Well, let us know
So-
if you do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I gotta ask, being native and from Canada, do you know any of the native stories about Bigfoot from?
You mean like in what sense? Because I mean, there's stories like from Harrison Hot Springs. I don't know if you guys know where that is. It's one of like the hotspot for Sasquatch activity in British Columbia, in pretty much all of Canada. It's that's what it's known for. Like you drive through this town and there's Sasquatches everywhere, statues and posters and all kinds of stuff. There are some accounts in that area where Sasquatch have communicated with the native people. Is that what you kind of mean, or do you mean like just legends or anything?
Yeah, any of it. Of course, I love hearing those stories.
Let me think. Well, I did have have you heard of the Ruby Creek incident?
I have not.
I suggest you give that a little look-see on YouTube after we're done here. When you get time, it's actually quite a cool account. So back in the 1940s, there's a family, a native family their last name is Chapman, and the husband worked on the railroad that was running through British Columbia, and while he was at work, a Sasquatch had attacked the wife and the kids at their house. And this is just, there's more to it than that. I'm just giving you the basic rundown of it. And it basically wanted something, and they don't know what it was. So she ended up grabbing her kids and running and finding her husband on the tracks at work. They go back to the house and find their house completely destroyed. Like just everything. A fish barrel's knocked over. It had like salted fish and just things like that. Excuse me. And I had the great nephew of that guy on my show, who's had his own account, but it just other than that, no, not really. I have a lot of problems I have a lot of issues with the native people here. Don't want to talk about it, and the reason is because they don't understand why you would want to. It's not because they're being jerks, but it's just because it's like, well, why would you want to talk to? Everybody knows they're there. Everybody knows they're in the woods. Why would you want to talk about that? It'd be like doing a podcast about a deer. That's how common it is, right? It's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So it's hard for me to find native peoples in my own province that want to come on the show. So I got quite lucky when I got the Chapman fellow on and he told me about his account. But yeah, give the Ruby Creek incident a little look-see when you guys got a chance. It's a fascinating account. I butchered it, but check it out. It's really a good story.
I've written it down. I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
Sure. I know that like the native people from my reservation, they know that Bigfoot's there. It's part of the teachings, the 7 sacred teachings of the grandfathers. Bigfoot represents honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about Bigfoot as being the big brother who's looking out for us and will always be there. But they're not one to like report a Bigfoot sighting to a Bigfoot research organization at all. They are more apt to go talk to their spiritual advisor because they think it's a personal message to them personally, that they saw this, that there was a message for them in that. So they go talk to their spiritual advisor to see what that could mean for them personally. And you know, some of the people from the reservation know that I'm interested in Bigfoot, so sometimes they'll come and tell me, or they'll share something with me, and so that's been really awesome that they'll do that. Um, but yeah, for the most part, you know, they're more thinking that this is a personal message for them.
Yeah. And Sasquatch is a huge part of the culture here. Huge. Like but one of my partners in our Bigfoot group is his spirit animal is actually a Sasquatch up until he was a teenager. So
Wow.
there's a huge connection with the people here and Sasquatch. And that's I was talking to. Do you guys know who Thomas Seawood is?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I was talking to him, and he put it in perfect English that I totally understood. And it says Sasquatch are just another people. You know, you have the Native American people who are here, the Métis, the Inuit, and the Sasquatch is just another clan of people that are here. They've always been here, and so there's no real mystery to solve, at least to them, right? But for everybody else, it's like, ooh, I want to figure this out. But to them, they're just they're there. Leave them alone. They don't want to be bothered, and that I get that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And I do believe too that they are another people. You know, they are people, and they should be respected as such. I think
Yeah.
so too.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
it's kind of weird because after the newspaper write up, I got I got in contact. Well, people were contacting me about like really sick things, like what would I recommend to use to shoot one of these things, or do you know where I can get one like go take it to a taxidermy if I. It's like, and it totally is like, okay, you're obviously not listening to my show because you're not getting what I'm all about.
Yeah.
It was just stuff like that really disgusted me. And then I talked to a guy from Oklahoma on my show, and we were talking about the $2 million bounty that they had for Sasquatch hunting, and just stuff like that. It a year ago I wouldn't have really gave too much thought into it, but now that I'm learning so much and I've talked to so many people, and I'm just seeing that's totally disgusting and wrong. Like this should not even be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
agree.
yeah, it's just some people have the wrong idea about what Sasquatch is, and that's what's sad. And that's actually why one of the reasons I started the podcast too is I really want to help do my part to help normalize the talk of Sasquatch, to bring it to mainstream, not media, but the mainstream public, just so they know that these things are really out there. And I mean, if you don't believe, then that's fine. But obviously, you're not going to see anything from sitting from your couch. But
You're right.
these things are out there, and they need to be respected. And they need, and hunting them is just
Not to mention, they're very large and they could be very dangerous to a human. Think about a gun and what type of gun it takes to take down a bear,
yeah.
you know?
And if there's one, there's going to be more. So I mean,
Yes.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's terrible.
I interviewed a guy today, and he's in Arizona, and he was telling me a story about some of his friends were carrying and getting ready to go shoot one, and it's like, well, a 308's not going to do much damage to. It's going to piss him off. Oh, sorry.
it's okay.
Right? All you're going to do is make it mad, and then you have that one to deal with, plus probably a few more that are hiding off in the bushes somewhere. So
Yeah.
you got to be careful around these things, and they deserve respect. They absolutely deserve respect.
I totally
agree.
agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I think that if people start shooting, I mean, that's a surefire way to have a bad experience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it just, I just don't think people have unless you're carrying an elephant gun, you're not going to do much damage with a 22 or a 308. It's just, yeah. Anyway, I don't even know how we got onto shooting them, but I don't like the topic.
Yeah, we're definitely a no-kill team.
Yes.
We don't have any weapons whatsoever. The closest thing I have to a weapon is my walking stick.
We're, we're, we're kind of a study and observe type of thing. We find, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are times where we get pretty scared. I mean, I've been chased off a mountain by one, and we've had clumps of dirt thrown at us, and it was just, they're territorial, right? So you do have to give them their space. But it was,
Tell us about this clumps of dirt. Tell us that. How big were they? How
Yeah.
close did they come to hitting you?
oh, let me see. So we were actually out in a different area, and we we're actually driving home. This was about 12:30 at night, and it's an old abandoned, decommissioned logging road that we were heading back down. And all of a sudden, my partner Dusty's driving, and I'm in the front seat, and I had a recorder in my hand. Keep that in mind. I had a recorder in my hand, ready to push the record button. So we're driving, and all of a sudden, boom! Something hit the truck, and I'm like, "What the heck was that?" And so I got Dusty to stop, and I got out. I have a recorder in my hand, and something. I went and looked around the truck, and there was a clump of dirt on the ground, and I looked up into the tree line, and something, I don't know, it screamed. Like, I've never heard that scream before, like, ever felt that. It just, like, it went through me. Like, the vibration just went right through my body, and it took me back. And I had a recorder in my hand, and that's the whole reason we were actually out there, is we were trying to get audio for a show we were trying to do. And it scared me to death that I froze. I just stood there. It was like it hit me with something that I just couldn't overcome, and I couldn't. It took me a few seconds to gather my wits about me and actually get back in the truck, but I was terrified after that.
So did you get it recorded, or were you so stunned you didn't even push record? You were just like, oh.
Yes, exactly.
So you said it hit you with something. Do you feel like you got zapped with infrasound or something?
I don't know. People talk about infrasound, and I don't know if that's what it was. It could have been. From what I've talked with other guests that I've talked to, it kind of probably was. But I've just never heard anything roar that loud, unless it's like a lion or something. And there's no jungle lions in BC as far as I know. But it was just like, yeah, it's hard to explain. I mean, have you guys experienced any like infrasound?
I don't think so, because we've never heard like a roar.
Yeah.
We've never heard a roar. But I have had like instantaneous moments of like, okay, we've overstayed our welcome. We need to go right now.
Yeah.
And like now. And, and I felt scared.
And when Jen feels scared, we book it, because she's just like, nope, let's go. It's time to leave. So we basically get our stuff and go. It's time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds like the time. Yeah, we had a similar experience too. It was. Can I tell it?
We have 1 minute left, so I also want to give time for you to tell people how they can find you
Are we done
online.
already?
Yeah, I know, right?
Goes quick when you're having fun.
So please
Holy fuck.
tell people how they can find you, and we'll have to have you come back on another time to tell that story.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you guys want to check out my podcast, it's called Nicola Valley Bigfoot. I didn't intend it to keep that name, but it just stuck. So Nicola Valley Bigfoot. I'm on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, you can find it. Just search up Nicola Valley Bigfoot, and it's spelled Nicola. If you want to drop me an email, my email address is nicolavalley.bigfoot@gmail.com. Always looking for guests. I've been quite fortunate. I've had quite a few good ones, and it's amazing. I'm having a great time. If you want to check out our Facebook page, it's facebook.com/lookingforbigfoot. I post all the stuff in there, our videos that we do, and whatever else. No YouTube yet.
No YouTube yet. Well, you got to get going on that.
It's a lot of work.
I know it's a lot of work, but we want to thank you for coming on the show, and hello and greetings to my long lost cousin. And we'll hope you come back on again, and we'll see you everybody else next week, and thanks for tuning in. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.